This is CTV News with Sinjin Alexander.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. BC's forest minister was assaulted on her way home last night. Katrine Conroy had just left the legislature when someone knocked her to the ground. She's now recovering from what are described as minor injuries. Victoria police are looking for witnesses and believe a good Samaritan may have helped her. The premier tweeted tonight that he's very upset. Kat's one of the toughest people I know, and she'll continue working hard for people. Again, police are asking witnesses to come forward. This is a story we'll continue to follow online and on CTV Morning Live tomorrow morning. A man who's been working in Vancouver is having a hard time getting home. He's exempt from the COVID-19 vaccine, but the doctor's note he used to get here isn't good enough to get him on a flight home. Travis Prasad has the story.
Star Seeker is go.
Actor Dorian Giordano landed in Vancouver with his mom last month after booking a part in a TV show. They tried flying back to Toronto on Saturday, but when they walked up to the Air Canada counter,
they looked over my paperwork and then I was okay, and then they looked over Dorian's and they said that no, unfortunately they could not accept his medical exemption.
Stephanie is double vaccinated, but 18-year-old Dorian is exempt from the COVID vaccine because of a chronic illness.
Autoimmune encephalitis, which is a really rare condition.
His doctor's note and a negative COVID test were good enough for him to fly out of Toronto, but that was before November 30th, when Canada banned unvaccinated people from flying.
We knew there were changes. Nowhere were there changes mentioned that would be affecting medically exempt.
Air Canada told the Giordanos to fill out new vaccine exemption forms. They did, but on Wednesday, the airline rejected them again.
We flew down here on a perfectly valid medical exemption. They could have tailored to that and understood the circumstances and come up with a solution for us coming back.
In a statement to CTV News, Air Canada says as of November 30th, we are asking our customers to submit vaccine exemption requests 21 days prior to travel to ensure they are processed by the flight date and so that customers have ample time to supply any missing or supplementary information. But the Giordanos are wondering why the airline won't grandfather them in since their trip started before November 30th.
There's just so much discrepancy and confusion right now.
To be home for the holidays, the pair will now drive back to Ontario, saying when it comes to air travel right now, flyer beware. Travis Prasad, CTV News, Vancouver.
Surrey Mounties are cracking down on shoplifters with an operation called Project Mistletoe at Guildford Town Centre and Surrey Central Mall.
So within 2 days, we were able to arrest 19 individuals for shoplifting. And so it's quite a significant number that we were able to accomplish within 2 days.
It's the most important time of the year for a retailer, especially this retail season where every type of retail store is trying to make up for many months of terrible sales. So it's a crucial month. And it's the busiest for shoplifting. It's a major concern, and it's just one more added cost that's completely unreasonable and unfair for retailers and the people that work in the store.
And Vancouver police are also targeting shoplifters, making 195 arrests and seizing $75,000 worth of stolen property in the last month. A security guard was stabbed multiple times at a Walmart in Campbell River. The guard was attacked while trying to get the man to leave. Gord Kurbis has the details.
A security guard remains in Campbell River Hospital recovering from stab wounds received yesterday while on duty at Walmart.
He's stable. He had to go through an emergency surgery last night or in the evening when they realized that it was a brachial artery that was hit.
Valley Madge says it was a 60-year-old employee of his who was injured while security was trying to prevent a man who had been previously banned from coming into the store.
And he just jumped at him and stabbed him multiple times. He was stabbed in the arm, in the upper chest. Luckily, he was wearing his vest.
While the guard was bleeding, Madge says the 30-year-old then went further into the big box store.
He went and he grabbed a number of TVs and walked out with those and left the store.
Walmart released a statement calling the incident completely unacceptable and deeply troubling. The company says it is cooperating with police and says the safety of our associates, customers, and third-party security partners is a top priority. Back in yesterday's stabbing was scheduled to make his first court appearance today. Gord Kurbis, CTV News, Campbell River.
Abbotsford police say the cause of death for a body found inside a burning vehicle is not suspicious. The remains were found Sunday by firefighters on Riverside Street. The victim's identity will not be released. Well, with holiday parties underway and concerns about a new variant, there are growing calls for rapid tests in BC. There are plenty of tests to go around, but as Penny Daflos reports, the province won't release them to the public.
During a holiday season when the Omicron variant has people on edge but keen to reconnect with family and friends, a tool that could make some of us feel a little more comfortable with gatherings is still in storage.
Our program is focused on where we can use rapid tests to help address transmission and the public program here. So it is for people who have symptoms.
The federal government has provided more than 3 million rapid tests to BC since the start of the pandemic. Some have been used for care home visitors, in remote communities, or for businesses that apply through PHSA. But 2 million of them are still sitting in warehouses with no plans to make them available to BC families ahead of Christmas.
It is an evolving issue.
But much of Canada has already evolved. Ontario politicians are feeling the heat on this issue despite using millions more than BC.
These tests have been deployed across the province. They're not sitting in a warehouse.
According to the Public Health Agency of Canada, 33 million tests have been distributed to Ontario. On a per capita basis, Nova Scotia is behind, but BC has distributed only a fraction of the tests in comparison.
Having the early asymptomatic testing has been helpful. At least, 20% of our early cases in wave 3 were found through no symptom testing before there were lots and lots and lots of contacts.
While they haven't found a huge number of cases, Nova Scotia has made routine asymptomatic use of rapid tests part of their public health measures to battle COVID, right alongside vaccinations and a consistent mask mandate.
It's a tool worth considering. And we have tons of people who tell us there's no way I'm getting vaccinated, and they come and get tests all the time.
In Nova Scotia, it's part of a simple routine, no doctor required, with results in about 20 minutes, so people can decide whether or not to go ahead with a visit to grandma or anyone else who's vulnerable to COVID. Penny Daflos, CTV News.
Mounties were called to a home on 114A Avenue in Surrey this morning. A man had barricaded himself inside and after several hours was taken into custody under the Mental Health Act. He's being treated in hospital. A 16-year-old boy has died after he was hit by a car in a marked crosswalk. His community is heartbroken, but ready to help his family in any way they can. Anna McMillan reports.
Cadence Bork was just steps from his home in Saanich on Monday night when he was hit by a vehicle in this crosswalk in Cedar Hill. In a Facebook post, his mom, Crystal, says he was walking home from the bus stop, but didn't and will never make it home. Crystal says she won't leave his side until the very end and doesn't know if she'll ever recover. The 16-year-old died yesterday, but his mom says his organs are being kept alive in hospital so they can be donated.
And it's gut-wrenching, and we just really feel for the family. We want to do something to help them.
Max Del Villano and his mom Heather started a GoFundMe campaign for Cadence's family.
It's unthinkable what happened so close to their own home. A place that's supposed to be safe, and every parent reaches the point where they're like, what if it was my kid, and what can I do to help?
Saanich police are investigating and say the driver is cooperating.
They did a complete analysis of the roadway, and we're also speaking to witnesses and any CCTV that we're able to garner from the neighborhood. It's just a very, very, very sad day.
The ripples of which are being felt across the community for a boy his mom is remembering as a kind and loving young man. Anna McMillan, CTV News, Saanich.
And a memorial is growing at a Delta secondary school for 17-year-old Micah Blom. Her body was found after being reported missing on the weekend. As Reagan Hasegawa reports, her death is being called suspicious.
Kind, bubbly, and funny. That's how Micah Blom's classmates will remember her. They say the 17-year-old was a very talented artist and a good friend. She's already greatly missed.
She just was really kind and didn't deserve anything that happened to her. When I heard that she went missing, it was really surreal because you're hanging out with someone the day before, still Snapchatting them, talking to them right before they passed.
A stuffed bear, flowers, candles, and pictures have been placed outside her school in her honor. Notes reading "Rest in peace" and "Forever in our hearts" left behind by her classmates. Blom was last seen by her family at home Friday and was reported missing Sunday. Police said her absence was out of character and announced her disappearance the following day. Then yesterday, a heartbreaking discovery. Her body was found inside a home on Tawasin First Nations land. Blom lived in that community, though police have not said how far the home she was found in was from her own. Police say a man was taken into custody in connection with her death, but has since been released. They haven't said how he may have known her. Investigators are not calling her death a homicide, but said it is considered suspicious. Counseling support was offered to students and staff impacted by the tragedy today. The school district telling CTV News, "We are deeply saddened to hear of the passing of Micah Blom. Micah was a much-loved student who had strong connections with her peers." Police believe the teen's death was isolated and that there is no further threat to the community. However, they say the investigation is still in its early stages. Reagan Hasagawa, CTV News, Delta.
Well, it's getting a lot of attention and just won't go away. Coming up, if at first you don't succeed, try again. The latest plan to haul the barge away. And from broccoli to Brussels sprouts, the toll the floods are taking on our produce. Those stories as CTV News at 11:30 continues.
The information you need. A story you'll only see here from the source you trust.
A CTV News exclusive.
Mi Jung Lee and Scott Roberts. Weeknights at 6 on BC's best newscast. CTV News, Vancouver. CTV News is brought to you in part by Park Royal. Redefine the way you shop, dine, and play this holiday season.
Give the gift that makes their holidays at Michael Hill.
We all need something gentle to take the weight off our shoulders and something plush to help us put our best foot forward. The greatest strength comes in the softest packages. Try Soft and Strong Purex.
During times of stress and times of need, people start to look at what's missing in their lives for insurance. It's one of those things we all hate paying for, but it's a necessity. If there's a death or a disability, it affects the whole family, it affects your loved ones, it can affect the people you work with. At Everything Financial, we make sure you get the right insurance to fit your needs with the Omni formula. You pay the right price. You don't buy life insurance or disability insurance or critical illness insurance you don't need. Because remember, it's your money.
There's no better time to start your fitness journey. Club 16, Trevor Linden Fitness, and She's Fit. Come join my team today.
Memories this year with a wide selection of gifts, custom printed items from our photo lab, and everything else you need for the holiday season. Visit your local London Drugs today or shop online at londondrugs.com.
Canada's largest online used car retailer is expanding, and we want you to join our team. We are hiring for all departments, from product development to logistics, operations, and customer service. Apply today at careers.canadadrives.ca.
As evacuees from BC's flooding begin to return home, what are they coming home to? Thursday on CTV Morning Live, assessing the damage as cleanup begins. And it's a behind-the-scenes look at the local ballet dancers preparing for the Nutcracker.
More residents in Sumas Prairie were allowed home today, but now they're getting a better idea of the damage. Vegetable farmers are being hit especially hard as they find crops are either damaged or contaminated. Michelle Bernaro with the latest.
Evacuation orders have been lifted for about 400 properties in the so-called lake bottom area of Sumas Prairie. That leaves about 200 properties still under evacuation order. Meanwhile, farmers say they've lost entire crops off fields now being treated as contaminated. Under all that water, 20 acres of broccoli that was finally ready to harvest, and then the floods hit.
We're just depressed, like what can we do, right?
At a nearby field, acre after acre of cabbage going to waste.
our crop is contaminated, it starts to rot and we cannot harvest. Once the water is touched to the bins, we cannot take it.
This storage facility also had flooding, meaning all of this will be thrown out. Much of the crop in this field actually survived the flooding, but because the Brussels sprouts were in about 1.5 feet of water, they're considered contaminated and can't be harvested. In fact, BC Fresh has told farmers any vegetable fields touched by flooding are considered contaminated. The Fraser Valley Coal Crop Association estimates about 500 acres has been impacted. Preliminary estimates put the loss of produce at 3,800 tons.
I am concerned about the farmers who weren't able to harvest their coal crops, and they're going to be without revenue.
All the farmers suffered a lot. You know, we definitely going to need some financial assistance.
Both the provincial and federal governments have committed to financial assistance, and BC says some funding is available through already existing programs, but farmers say they aren't getting the help they need right now to survive. BC Fresh says extensive testing of soil and water is being done now, and that they have to act fast because the next crops go in the fields in less than 90 days. Michelle Bernoro, CTV News, Abbotsford.
Well, it's been 3 weeks, but the barge in English Bay is, no closer to being tugged away. Crews tried to find a new solution, but Mother Nature just isn't cooperating, and officials have no idea how long it's going to be there. Maria Weisgarber with the latest.
For more than 3 weeks, it's been attracting a lot of attention, and now crews are taking a closer look at the grounded barge in English Bay.
It's a big attraction since day one. It's been a very difficult year for many people. That's nice to have a bit of a distraction.
The barge ended up here on November 15th after getting loose during a powerful storm. The city says Transport Canada has now received a recovery plan from the barge's owner, and in the coming days, it will be assessed and repaired as needed to prepare for removal.
You've got about 500 tons of steel sitting on the rocks here, and that needs to be supported by buoyancy. So the higher the tide, the easier it's going to be to pull it off.
Naval architect Robert Allen says he expects the hull is likely damaged in some ways, and added, along with a high tide, a fair amount of tugboat power may also be required.
The first few days I was down here, I noticed them trying to pull it off with a very old tug with about 700 horsepower, and it was doing nothing. So it's got to be many multiples of that. What they've tried so far obviously hasn't worked, so they need a bigger tow truck.
In the meantime, the city says while the barge does not pose a public safety risk, people are being asked to keep a safe distance and abide by barriers in the area. Adding security will be on site 24/7 until the barge is removed. While crews have been on the move, the barge itself is staying put for now.
I'm afraid that we'll be there January 1st. Let's hope they will find a solution. They must find a solution because I cannot stay there.
Well, you may have noticed things look a little different tonight, and that's because our studio is getting a makeover. We're right in the middle of it. So here's a sneak peek. The renovation is underway, and that includes a new anchor desk. Earlier, we said goodbye to the old one you've been seeing for years as we make room for a new desk and a fresh new look. It all gets unveiled next week right here on CTV News. When we come back, all the rage about a pop star donut. Not Timbits, but Tim Biebs. Little snacks so popular, they have merchandise. Also,
not one person talked to me.
And competing with Yoko Ono. Mike McCardle has the last word.